Welcome back to Occasional Randomness. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, is my fellow co-host, somebody who did not have to wait 18 months for this episode, Jason Johnson.
Yep. Definitely didn't have to wait 18 months, and I think we should go ahead and crash into this one. What do you say?
Full speed ahead. Crash right. Yeah, so the day has finally come. We start the final 2 episodes of televised Farscape, which would be the miniseries that, for one of us here, had to wait 18 months for, the Peacekeeper Wars. Part 1 this time, Part 2, and the finale next time.
Yeah, and from there, who knows?
Random stuff, occasionally. And as always, our public service announcement: if you like what we do here, please give us a like or a review, or better yet, spread the word and let everybody know about us. We'd appreciate it.
Please and thank you.
All right. The jam-packed hour and a half, Part 1.
Buckle up, folks.
Yeah, Peacekeeper Wars, Part 1. Here we go. So we open with a grim glimpse into the future. John Crichton is bloodied, Moya is sparking, and Aaron is doing a voiceover across Moya, dropping lines about the fighting stopping, but refusing to lose him. And then, poof, we're right back into the middle of things. The Scarans and Peacekeepers are officially engaged in what Grand Chancellor Merritt calls the last war of our era. And all because our good buddy Scorpius launched a preemptive strike on his Scaran dreadnought. When chewed out for it, Scorpius simply says, "I was sent here to perish at the vanguard of this inevitable conflict. I simply refuse to participate on their terms or yours." We cut to the watered planet Kajaga. If you remember, that's from the last episode. It's been 60 days, apparently, since John and Aaron were shattered into a million bits. Rigel has been diving into the ocean floor, swallowing the crystal pieces to bring them up. And as he throws them up onto Dargo's boat, he complains, "So often I've proclaimed having a belly full of Crichton and Aaron. I never thought it would be so literal." Tiana shows up with brand new eyes. Hey, remember that from the cliffhanger? Courtesy of a Diagnosian, who was quickly recruited to float the crystals back together.
And here I thought she only had eyes for Dargo.
Dun, dun. John and Aaron materialize mid-kiss, remember last episode, and immediately pull their pulse pistols on the local aliens. Once they realize they're safe, John yells, "Hey, we're going to get married." The Diagnosian examines Aaron and says that there is no baby. John realizes Rigel scooped up every piece from the ocean floor. Cut to Rigel on a table being congratulated on being pregnant. John demands the Diagnosian put the baby back in Aaron, but it can't be moved until the end of the first quadmester. Rigel's response to that: "Get me a drink." He later describes the pregnancy as having a large parasite that's growing. The local aliens, who turn out to be a race called the Eidolons, deny the crew's petition to stay. Just as Moelma, the leader of the Eidolons, tries to marry John and Aaron, Scorpius and Sokozu crash the wedding. Scorpius tracked John via the Neuralink, aka Harvey. And speaking of which, inside John's head, Harvey is dressed up as Einstein, warning him that Scorpius is after the wormhole weapon. Duh. John writes an obscene message on the blackboard for Harvey to pass along. Scorpius warns John that the Scarans will win the war unless he builds the weapon. John's response: "Wormholes, no. Weapons, no. Killing, no. Crichton, no." Well, Noranti and Stark realize these local Eidolons are descendants of an ancient peacemaking race from Arnesk. They figure if they take a local delegation to Arnesk, those ancient Eidolons resurrected there can reignite the latent peacekeeping abilities of the current generation. John asks Aaron what the odds are of this working. Her answer: "Not good." John fires back, "Not good is the best odds we ever get." They prepare to starburst to Arnesk. Along the way, pilot intercepts a transmission from Rigel's cousin, Bashan, revealing the Scarans are decimating Hyneria, and the people need Rigel to return. Simultaneously, Emperor Stalik and War Minister Akna find out where Crichton is heading and dispatch a decimator ship to follow him. To cross Peacekeeper space, the crew is forced to use Scorpius for his passcodes. Unfortunately, before they can make the jump, Moy is boarded by Dragons working with Peacekeepers. Because Scorpius has technically deserted the Peacekeepers, his command codes fail. Surprise. Prompting a massive shootout. John uses Scorpius literally as a human shield, remarking, "It's amazing what a man will do when he's in love." Tiana uses her new eyes, which apparently have a power to, or ability to see weapon energy through walls, and helps Dargo and Aaron eliminate the borders, although the Eidolon Kata is fatally wounded. Sokozu and John manage to disengage the Dragon harpoons just in time for Moya to starburst away.
They arrive at Arnesk, John enters the temple and is immediately tackled and kissed by Jewel, who assumes John has finally realized they belong together. Ooh.
Is he still around? Okay.
Yep. Leading to my favorite line of the set, Aaron walks in and Rigel completely spoils the moment with, "Get your own fantasy. We're having his baby." Inside the temple, the ancient hierarch Yondaleo is skeptical of helping Pakal, the surviving local Eidolon, and wants time to meditate. John loses his patience, fires a pulse pistol shot that echoes around the temple, and delivers a brilliant Wizard of Oz breakdown to the ancient hierarch. The lion, Dargo, needs courage. The Tin Man, Scorpius, needs a heart. Toto, Rigel, wants an easy birth, and Dorothy, Pakal, is just looking for a way home. This snaps Yondalo into action, and he agrees to help Pakal accept the responsibility of inspiring peace. With its first phrase of the plan set, the ticking clock accelerates. Erin reveals to John that her pregnancy is geometric, meaning the baby will be born in a matter of solar days. Meanwhile, up on the command carrier, Peacekeeper leadership is fracturing. Merrick broaches the idea of a truce to a heavily pregnant Graza, who views the very mention of surrender as proof that all is lost. Back on Moya, things are rapidly unravel. Stark is in absolute distress, banging his head against a wall and babbling that the Eidolons are going to die in peace. He's right. Pilot warns Crichton that the Scarran Decimator has dropped out of hyperspace and locked them on target. Moya can't starburst because a hit will destroy her before she fully powers up. Down on the planet, Jewel sends a brave, calm transmission directly to the Scarran flagship, pleading that the inhabitants are peaceful, unarmed, and pose no threat. The Scarrans don't even bother to reply. Crichton screams at Jewel to run, but the Scarrans launch a nuclear missile that streaks right past Moya and completely obliterates the temple, vaporizing everyone inside, including Jewel. The Scarrans demand immediate surrender. Moya attempts a desperate emergency starburst anyway, but the Decimator fires, completely crippling her. The crew is forced to evacuate onto a transport heading straight for the enemy. Aaron and Crichton, Stark, Sikozu, Scorpius, and Yondaleo are taken prisoner. Meanwhile, Dargo and Chiana make a break for it in Lola, relying on its invisibility cloak. Once inside the holding cells, Emperor Stalek and War Minister Ankna arrive to gloat. When Crichton confronts Stalik about nuking a peaceful temple, Stalik cold-bloodedly calls it a precaution. Ankna immediately harasses Rigel, stroking his pregnant belly and mocking his gender. Rigel tries to play it off. Tumor, not long to live. Ankna sneers, I would agree. Stalek reveals he knows Rigel is carrying John and Aaron's baby because a traitor sold them out. Grutschuk. To make matters worse, Stalek walks up to Scorpius, mocks his streams of supremacy, and violently rips out his internal cooling system. Stalik then delivers an ultimatum to Crichton. Give up the secrets to the wormhole's weapon within 1 Arn, or Ankna will personally torture Rigel and the abomination in his belly to death. Left in the cell, Sikozu builds a makeshift coolant rig that keeps Scorpius alive, while Aaron presses Yondaleo on something he muttered in the temple. Peacekeepers, do your duty. Yondaleo reveals that 27,000 cycles ago, the Eidolons needed a guard race to maintain harmony after negotiations concluded. They found a primitive, barely closed species on the galaxy's outer spiral, brought them back, and genetically accelerated their evolution to become their trusted acolytes, the Sebaceans. When the Eidolons vanished, the Peacekeepers tried to carry on the mandate, but lacking the Eidolons' unique mental peacekeeping abilities, they kept the peace the only way they knew how, at the muzzle of a pistol. Crichton buys time by cutting a deal with Stalik. He claims he doesn't have a physical wormhole weapon, but he can take Stalik directly to the entity that controls the technology. Stalik tries to mind probe John to verify this, but John is completely immune because he's technically telling the truth. They launch in Crichton's module, and inside John's head, Harvey, who's still on the car crash test course, is screaming at John to do his duty and deliberately crash the module into the wormhole to kill Stalik, even if it means dying. John refuses. He wants to live to see his child. The wormhole opens and John and Stalik land on Einstein's mental iceberg. Stalik tries to violently probe Einstein, but the ancient being effortlessly deflects him and freezes the Scarran Emperor completely in time. Einstein tells John that returning here was a mistake, but Crichton argues that Einstein owes him for putting wormhole equation crap in his brain in the first place, demanding it be removed. Einstein agrees it may soon be prudent to do so and vanishes, and then unfreezing Stalek. John convinces the shaken Emperor that creating a weapon here is impossible, and they head back.
While John is gone, Ankna drags Aaron to the bridge. The Scarrans have used advanced tracking to pierce Lola's invisibility cloak. Aaron watches in absolute despair as scary missiles repeatedly pound Dargo's ship until it explodes into scrap metal. Octa boasts that Luxons and Peacekeepers are all destined for enslavement or death. Aaron tries to kill her on the spot, but is dragged back to the cells, where she tells the crew that a Luxon can only survive in raw space for about a quarter of an hour. But there's a twist. Shanna and Dargo awake inside a massive Luxon warship. They've been rescued by Dargo's estranged son, Joffy, who is now a field officer. Hey, remember him? After Dargo
Shanna does.
Yeah, literally. Intimately. After Dargo welcomes his son with a swift punch to the face, see previous plot thread there, they realize Jothi's ship is undetectable. Using Shanna's new energy-tracking eyes, Dargo plots out the exact structural weak points of the Decimator flagship, preparing for surprise retaliation. Meanwhile, back on Peacekeeper Command Carrier, the military leadership is completely fracturing. Grand Chancellor Merrick realizes the war is lost and suggests negotiating a treaty with Stalik. Commandant Greza, heavily pregnant and completely unhinged, views peace as a fate worse than death. She covertly poisons Marik's drink, and as he collapses dying on the floor, she whispers, "You will not be remembered as the commander under which Peacekeeperdom fell because you are weak. Death is preferable to subjugation." And she takes total control of the fleet. Back on the Decimator, Stalik honors his deal and returns Ratchet to his cell. Yandaleo steps forward and begins emitting a powerful hypnotic purple glow, utilizing his peace-reaching abilities to influence Stalik's passions. And it actually starts working. Yandaleo convinces Stalik that a diplomatic victory over the Peacekeepers would prove Scarran intellectual superiority without losing a single soldier. Stalik agrees to draft a highly favorable armistice. But as these things go, just as peace is within reach, War Minister Akna walks into the room and shoots Yandaleo, mortally wounding him, screaming at Stalik for trying to broker peace with an enemy they are meant to crush. Stalik is furious at the insubordination, but leaves the crew to rot. As Yandaleo lies dying, Crichton and Aaron force a reluctant Stark to perform last rites so he can absorb and protect the ancient Eidolon's peacemaking gift. The sheer volume of energy blows everyone across the room, leaving Stark completely, screamingly insane as his mind fractures under the unwanted power, as opposed to a normal Stark who's not. Anyway, good. To make matters worse, the stress triggers Ragel's body to convulse. The baby's geometric timeline has run out, and the birth transfer has to happen right now. Before they can even grab at the medical kit, Akna floods the cell with a lethal gas used to paralyze specimens before dissection. Coughing and choking in the dark, Aaron looks at John and says, "You've ruined my life." John responds, heartbreakingly honestly, "I know." We circle back to the scene of John in the medical bay on Moya, unconscious and fighting for his life. We hear Aaron's voice with a baby crying in the background. "This war is not your responsibility." We hear Crichton's response, "How am I supposed to protect you from the Peacekeepers and the Scarrans and the Tragans and the lions and tigers and bears?"
Oh my.
Oh my. Aaron reassures him, "This is what you want." John replies, utterly defeated, "No, Aaron, it's not what I want. It's just that fate keeps blocking all the exits, and no matter what I do, I just keep circling closer to the flame." We get a final, terrifying flash of a wormhole weapon briefly appearing in the void, completely destroying a flagship. Fade to black.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Into part 1. All right. Lots of trivia about this episode. Crichton is seen throwing his and Harvey's cigarettes out the window of their car in one of his visions. This is a callback to Promises, Season 4, Episode 5, in which John shouts at Harvey for smoking in his head. Some broadcasters split this miniseries into 4 episodes, which probably would be better for our podcast purposes. But anyway, the Lionsgate Entertainment release edits both parts into a single 182-minute feature. And reportedly, the UK version contains additional scenes. Makeup design for Sakozu is substantially different in the miniseries. In addition, a number of changes are made to Jules' appearance and characterization. Claudia Black's voice appears to be considerably deeper in tone in the miniseries compared to the original series. And also, both Dargo and Pilot's voices are very different from the series. Several reviewers have noted the change in Pilot's voice in particular. This was most likely due to a change in personnel doing post-audio processing. The original filters and settings for producing Pilot from Lenny Tubu's voice were lost. And like I said, the recap, it's been 60 days since the events of Bad Timing, which was Season 4, Episode 22. And during this time, Shanna has undergone the eye transplant surgery after permanent blindness that she had in Bad Timing. Greza has regained some measure of authority and has become pregnant. and Scorpius has regained command of the command carrier with Skozu by his side. Our good buddy Grunchilk appears for the first time since Season of Death, which was way back in Season 3, Episode 1. Jewel makes her first reappearance, not counting visions and alternate reality versions of her, since What Was Lost, Resurrection, which was Season 4, Episode 3. Tiana joins the ranks of Farscape characters who survived direct exposure to the vacuum of space. The other people were Dargo, Crichton, Fragile, and Naranti. When Crichton takes cover and pilots Den, he calls the Trigon bounty hunters the Electric Mayhem, which was the Muppet band most famously featuring Animal on drums.
Animal. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When Crichton and Aaron are restored after being turned into crystal in bad timing, they both draw their pulse pistols. However, in the final scene of that episode, you can clearly see the pistols lying in a shattered crystal pile. And finally, Aaron describes her pregnancy as geometric, when exponential will be more accurate for all you math nerds out there. All right. Wow. That was a lot to cover, and there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, we're out of time here, folks. We'll see you. No.
So tune in next time for the recap of the discussion. And I think I said in the prior episode that they pretty much crammed the major plot threads of what was probably going to be Season 5. So figure 22 hours worth of plot minus filler episodes and other fun stuff that they do. And they shoved it all into 3 hours, this being the first 90 minutes of that. So this is a whirlwind of character development, wrapping up as many dangling plot threads as possible and giving the viewers the ending they deserved after that cliffhanger that we, or I should say I, had to wait 18 months for. So what did you think about this 90-minute fire hose you got hit with?
Well, obviously I'll start with it was great, right? I mean, this is on par with, the greatest of the multi-parters we got. The budget probably explains a lot of that. The focus. I was thinking about that as I watched it. So I can only imagine, that with the real-time wait you had, it was, I would say greater, but like a more satisfying experience. I mean, not that I didn't enjoy it, but imagining this is kind of like the closest I have to this is getting Serenity after Firefly got canceled, right? But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Not too many shortcomings. I'll hit on a few. Obviously, there's always a little nitpicks. That's what we do. But it definitely seemed tighter that I could see it with it being a lot of like filler episodes. I think it benefits from being cut down, even though there's some spots where more time might have been beneficial, but we'll see. How about you?
I loved it. Yeah, obviously. That's why we're doing this podcast. And
yeah, I guess if you ended this show hating it, we'd be doing something different. So
yeah, like why did we cover the last 88 episodes of this show? And yeah, they gave you like the little 2-minute cold open of what happened before, but obviously if you're watching the miniseries, you knew what happened and you're waiting for them to answer what the heck did they do with Crichton and Aaron. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fire hose of scenes, plots, effects, everything. And yeah, I mean, you only have so long, 3 hours here, and you got lots to churn through to satisfy all the viewers who demanded a real ending to the series. And thankfully we got one, so here we go. So, I mean, yeah, you just gotta go with it. Would I have liked it if we stayed longer on some things? Sure, but I mean, it did what it had to do to set things up at the hopeless ending, like all 2-part stories do, right? So you can overcome it all in part 2 and save the day and right off in the sunset. I mean, it's got, all the usual Farscape elements we've come to love over these last 88 episodes. Great story, resolving plot elements that they set up over the years. Literally, it's one that they set up, pretty early on in the show. All the great humor with the crew, and of course, action, right? I mean, they jammed everything they could possibly jam into this 90 minutes here.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that they kept a lot of the threads, that we were wanting to see them pick up. And they didn't do they did a small one, time jump, right? They jumped, 60 days or something like that. But a lot of shows today would have used that to jump 2 years and just gloss over a lot of things, So they actually bothered to pick up the details pretty close to where we left off. A lot closer than it was real time.
2 months versus almost 2 years, yeah. And then, yeah, like you had said, and if you couldn't figure out from watching it, the budget for the Peacekeeper Wars was much more than the TV show. This miniseries was about $20 million. Conversely, each regular series episode was about $1.4 to $2 million. And yeah, they really did their best to use that money as well as they possibly could. There's amazing, for that time, massive fleet battles with CGI, fleets like the opening Scarran Peacekeeper battle. Lots more CGI, like the full-bodied Rigel swimming underwater scene that we saw after the big opening battle scene. And lots of improved spaceship visual effects. But then they kind of went cheap on a couple of things, I guess, to save money for the important effects. But Chiana and Dargo floating in space. Why is their hair blowing? Is there wind in the vacuum? I didn't think there was, but anyway,
the vacuum was sucking the hair.
Yeah, there you go.
It wasn't blowing; it was sucking.
It was in reverse. That's
what vacuums do. They suck.
Yeah, but yeah, what you think about the budget? Is anything you're like, oh wow, or you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, you definitely can tell that it had a lot more budget, especially in like just the way it was shot, I guess is what I would say. I mean, you can tell it's a step up from the TV show. The fleet battle was amazing. I thought that was really nice. I mean, that's one thing this show has never really been able to do up until now, is give us a massive space battle, right? We see some shots and we see some starbursts, but if I have to nitpick, and I will a little bit, maybe in its day, the Rigel swimming was more impressive, but I kind of would have skipped CGI there. I kind of was missing the puppetry of Rigel on that one, right? It's like if they could have found some way to do a Jim Henson puppet swimming, I would have thought it was cooler. But, again, play with what they wanted to show off, and I totally accept that.
Like we said last episode, when we saw the Eidolons for the first time, they had some amazing effects with their heads splitting open and all that kind of stuff. We're like, oh, that could have been cool for a 20-episode season of them being there, but they did it like once or twice in this thing, and they'd do it again. So,
well, you got to pick your battles.
Yeah, I'm sure those puppets are probably got lost too in the 18 months they wrapped up filming, right? So,
right.
Well, let's see. We got a bunch to cover here, so there's no way we're going to go scene by scene like we sometimes do. We'll be here for like 4 hours. So,
yeah. We're going to get 7 podcasts out of this series.
Yeah.
Or this episode, just so y'all know.
Yeah.
No, not really. No.
So we'll see you next time for yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll just focus on the character elements, because every character that's still around is in this episode, and of course the major plot points. And we'll see what else we get around to. So let's just jump right off to the first guy we see here in the show, our big favorite baddie, Scorpy. Apparently, he just decided to start a war with the Scarrans since he thinks John's dead, so there's no wormhole weapons, and that's the only thing he was convinced would be able to overpower the Scarrans. So, hey, better to go out in the blaze of glory than a slow death the Scarrans would, dole out if they captured him over the years, right? So, typical Scorpy. And also typical Scorpy, once he finds out John's alive again, then it's back to the original plan. Get the wormhole weapons. Go. I'm defecting. Or I'm leaving the battle. See ya.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't just hey, let's do this. He's just like, no, peace out. Leave the rest of the crew to die. We're going to do what I want to do. So I did like that part. Having him in charge was kind of interesting of a lot of the army, but still doing his own thing. Like, forget you guys. I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to start a war. Yeah. But even better, we get the return of Harvey, right? And so that's always great. I was kind of wondering if they were going to leave him out of the miniseries, but no, we pretty much right off the bat get a Harvey scene. So that was good.
Just as bonkers crazy as all the scenes. So I loved it. That's some of the favorite stuff you still remember years later about Farscape is the Harvey stuff. So.
Second only to the Looney Tunes, I guess. But
yep. And crackers.
Well, they don't matter.
Yeah.
Get a plug for that all the way through. But anyway.
I did fit there somewhere. So. And standing right there next to Scorpy is Sikozu. Although she's not... Well, yeah. Well, what kind of looks like Sikozu. Yeah. Doesn't seem like she's second in command. I'm sure the Peacekeepers wouldn't stand for 2 aliens in charge of things. Or 1 half alien, 1 alien. But she's definitely involved. Much to Bracco's, who we see is kind of annoyance there. It seems he's been relegated to fighter duty when he's not on the bridge. And, the big drop we had last season was she was part of some Kalish resistance against the Scarens, but nothing so far. But really, the biggest change of all, like you just said, was her change in her appearance. It's kind of like punk Sakozu. Not golf. This is more like punk Sakozu, like with spiky hair and just a weird look, So I don't know what you think about her sudden, 2 month, change of appearance there or whatever.
So, yeah, after all, I didn't even think about that being 2 months. That's a weird one. Yeah, the change really threw me. I got to be honest. It took me a good while to realize that's who she was. She didn't have a lot of lines in this episode at all, and so without her being a lot of speaking, I was kind of like, she could have really been a different character. I mean, and you're right. I didn't think about that. They didn't have the whole, what's she, a advanced bioloid or something like that, where she can like float and put off radiation that's supposed to damage Scarens. So
there's no Scarens she was fighting, so I guess we'll find out if she ever beats one in person if they bring that up again.
Weren't they captured? Weren't those Scarens that captured? Anyway, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, right. I think I read online somewhere that I think the reason why they did that was because the actors, had like gotten a haircut or something. I'm like, well, they have wigs. This is the movies. They can make up, But whatever. I guess they went with the punk look for some reason. Whatever. Okay, fine.
It was the 90s, man.
Yeah, right.
2000s.
Early 2000s. Sure. Go with the punk look.
Basically, late 90s. And it was Australia, right? They're basically 5 or 10 years behind us. Or is that Canada? I can't keep it track.
Yeah, I guess we'll stick with Peacekeepers. So, hey, Grace is not a prisoner anymore. Now she's, I don't know, the wife or the partner or whatever of the Peacekeeper High Chancellor. Okay. I don't know how she did that, but. And yeah, like we said a couple times in the recap, she's really, really pregnant with his child.
Yeah, you think the actress was pregnant? And they just wrote that in? Because.
Yeah. I didn't look that up. It'd be, not unknown in these kind of shows, let that happen. And the High Chancellor is not happy with Scorpius starting the war and wants him shot on sight. And as we found out later, it looks like Grace has been playing this guy all along, as she kind of alluded to back in season 4 with the one like girls trip episode where she and Octo were trying to have a, hey, I'll help you become ruler of the Scarens. I'll become ruler of the Peacekeepers, wink, wink, So looks like her plans are still going along just fine. So when, Merrick wants to talk about surrendering or the battle's lost, she decides to poison him and takes over. I wonder if people have a problem with that suddenly. It's like, hi, I'm in charge now. Well, where's your husband? Oh, he's dead. Like, what?
Yeah, that was actually my exact question was like, how do you go from being she didn't appear to have any military leadership in that up until that point, right? I mean, she was kind of there around him, but he was in charge. And so, at least what I think of our military, right? You kill a general, you don't put his wife in charge. But it seems like, whatever her position was, she's like hoping to enchant the next guy, or she just takes it over. I'm not really sure how that works. So maybe we'll find out.
Well, more 90-minute episode to go, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Or they may just gloss it over because they got too much to do.
This is true also. Speaking of glossing things over, sort of, we accelerate the reintegration of Aaron and John, because quite frankly, you have to. I mean, even if it was a full season, keep your two main characters.
Let's not reintegrate Rigel.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. You don't keep your main characters sidelined, especially when you only have 3 hours to wrap this whole thing up. So, Rigel, you can see Rigel's feet and body and everything. He's swimming along, eating up crystals, and a Diagnosian shows up and gets him all reintegrated. Well, almost reintegrated. Somehow it seems that Aaron's baby is now in Rigel. I guess he didn't barf up every crystal. And if they missed that bit, which might have been a couple bits, I'm guessing, what else did they miss? Like, it's like, oh, where's my pinky? like, I don't know. And
he now wears smaller shoes. They didn't tell you that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to think about where that baby is inside Rigel. But in any case, it's a good source of comic relief that Farscape, has been known for. Plus, it was kind of nice to have some humor in this really, really heavy part one of the miniseries, as we'll get to here in a little bit. So, any humor was welcome at this point.
Yeah, you kind of just roll with the pregnant alien puppet. But, or Muppet. But, we really don't know, I guess, we don't really know a lot about Hanarians. Maybe they're like, is it seahorses that the males carry the young? So maybe that's the case with Hanarians, and he's adequately equipped to do it. Either way, it led to the best line of, we're having his baby, which was probably my favorite line of the episode. So
I was going to get Ragel the good lines, so.
Yeah. Well, it's feast or famine, right? It's either that or helium. So.
Yeah, true. At least they haven't pulled that one yet. So on this one. And to make matters worse, of course, because it's Farscape, or just good storytelling in general, the baby will be born in days, not months. Much to John's surprise and probably Ragel's relief/terror. I don't know. And of course, that Diagnosian isn't going to go with them, but gives them some kind of contraption to extract the baby from Ragel into Aaron. So, yeah, of course, no problem. Given how these things go with our main characters and our crew over the last 4 years, I'm sure they'll just be all ready to go if that ever happens, and Ragel will just, pass it along to Aaron, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, it'll have to get swapped back at the last minute, or so Aaron can have it, or maybe Chiana, if she was there, I'd say that, but I guess she's not in the same spot. Because I think that'd be a funny twist, is to have Chiana give birth to the baby. But anyway.
You have like Ragel in labor, and like John and Aaron are grabbing each one of his hands, like, push. We'll see. And speaking of more accelerated plots, Chiana just shows up and her eyesight's massively restored, thanks to the aforementioned Diagnosian.
I didn't see that coming, so that was a good one.
Yeah. He did she right there.
Blink or you miss it.
Yeah. But now they're kind of cat-like pupils than what she had before, just normal human-looking eyes. And bonus, they can detect energy emissions, so kind of almost like X-ray vision, sort of, in a way. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, she spots those Trigon sneaking up on them and Moya via their energy and their weapons. She can see the energy through the walls. That's kind of cool. And then later she helps Dargo by telling him the weak points in the Scarab Dreadnought, as she can see them. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of better than her timey-wimey stuff. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a nice variation on the precognition, right? Because now she, instead of seeing the future, she sees the energy. So, and it's nice not to have that limitation she had before, because it's kind of I think they wore out the, one more use and I'll go blind. It took longer. Oh, now I'm blind. It's like, well, now what do you do? Oh, well, do something else. I couldn't help but I think it was an X-Men comic where they had some characters they had their eyes replaced, and one of the bad guys could use them to spy on through them. So I just kept thinking about that, maybe the Scarans just tap that and they can see through her eyes or something. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll go there, but it's fun to think about.
Picture that guy, and I can't think of his name.
Mojo?
That's it. Mojo. Yep. Speaking of which, as we record this,
X-Men, whatever.
Yeah. X-Men 97 season 2 is coming soon on Disney Plus. Anyway. And
I need to go watch season 1.
Yeah. It's really good. You should watch. And speaking of, let's bring back everybody that's still alive. Our old buddy Grunchel shows up with the Diagnosian, and he's his usual charming, annoying self. And I guess later it was revealed that he was the inside source leaking info on where Crichton was, which, okay. I thought for sure it'd be somebody more major, like Braca maybe. He's finally had it with Sikozu and, Scorpy, or maybe even Greza to tie into her power grab thing. I don't know. But nah, it's Grunchel just because he's greedy, and that's his thing.
So that was another weird throwaway that maybe I'm hoping will have more importance later. Maybe the next, I keep wanting to say episode part, or that whole line wouldn't have been necessary. In my opinion, they could have just glossed over it. I still think I like my idea of it being Chiana's eyes that were spying the whole time or something. But anyway, maybe.
Yeah, those creatures that crystallized John and Aaron last episode, somehow Naranthi figures out they're descendants of these race called the Eidolons, which was a mythical now.
We haven't seen those before, have we?
Well, apparently not, but yes, we have. I don't know. But yeah, I guess they were this like super negotiating race that had long since disappeared. And these ones have lost that magical ability of their ancestors over these last thousands of cycles, or else they would be more than happy to help broker a peace between the Peacekeepers and Scarens. But yeah, to your point, hey, remember back in season 4, there's that planet Arnesk? The one where Jewel stayed behind to help reintegrate those beings, which apparently were Eidolons, back into the universe after being held in some kind of time loop for 12,000 cycles? Yeah, those guys. Hey, maybe they can still do this negotiating power magic thing. So they agree to take somebody over there to learn how to do that. So they take a nice guy who wants to go learn things and like this really rude guy who just, I guess, is like his bodyguard / I don't know, just rude guy.
Always two there are. A nice one and a rude one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there'll be lots of more Star Wars references here later. And yeah, they take him on Moya and go visit. So yeah, sounds great. What could possibly go wrong besides everything?
Yeah, I did like that they kind of loop back to the last time we saw Jewel. It kind of gives us an excuse to at least see that character again. Surely that'll all work out for her.
They eventually get there, and yeah, there's Jewel, and they kind of had to change her appearance around too. So she's kind of almost gone native, so to speak. Now she's almost like wearing, I don't know, primitive cave woman style clothing. She didn't like the Eidolon's clothing choices. I don't know, whatever. I don't get it, but yeah, she's still the same crazy hair color and stuff. So okay.
On that planet, the punk outfits were harder to come by, so she couldn't go full punk like, what's her name?
I guess that like tight corset thing she's wearing, I guess must have just finally just fallen off, and she couldn't make another one. So, and it was fun to catch up with her, to see what she was up to since the last time we saw her, which was like I said in the trivia way back in like episode 3 of season 4, right? So it's been almost, well, if this had been a regular series, a year. It's been more like 3 years. And unfortunately, due to the accelerated plot line again, it's just really a cameo at this point, or that's it, and a permanent goodbye, as we'll see here in a minute. I mean, if this would have been a full season, she might have been there for at least an episode or 2 or 3, but you get about 5 minutes in this story episode.
Yeah, and now she has a thing for John.
I don't remember that from when she was there before. Maybe, kind of. I don't know.
Evidently, that's what being left on a desert planet does for you. Is being marooned on this desert planet. That she pines for John to come back and remember they're supposed to be together. But surely that's going to be a lasting plot line, right? They're going to carry that through to the next episode because she's such an important character.
So she'll just go with them to just rejoin Moya and off we go, right?
Right.
Yeah, then we get, funny scene of John convincing the leader to go with them and help train other Eidolons to relearn this magic negotiating skill or whatever power, whatever you call it. So fantastic.
Wait, did they have to take him to a temple to be trained?
Yeah, apparently it's a temple and there's,
Okay. Yeah. That's not, okay, go ahead.
Big stone looking temple thing. Yeah, it's good. Wonder if So yeah, fantastic. Everything's working out for our crew. Everything's great for about a minute. And then the Scarens show up, alerted by Mr. Grunchuk there. John tries to warn Jewel to get away, but too late. The Scarens decide to nuke the whole site from orbit, because it's the only way to be sure, and blow up the whole temple and disable Moya before she can starburst away. So, alas, poor Jewel.
All right, so I'll take back that being an important plotline part, huh? All right.
Hello, Jewel. Goodbye, Jewel. And yeah, speaking of other things that are rapidly accelerating here, we finally get an answer to something that was hinted at during those early season 4 episodes on Arnesk, that the Eidolons needed some guards and a force to help enforce any peace once they were finished. So, peacekeepers. So they found some race nobody ever heard of, took some of them, and forced their evolution along, and I guess changed them a little bit, and they became Sebaceans, which effectively humans. And when the Eidolons vanished, they just tried their best to keep on doing what they did, keeping the peace. But they had to use weapons instead of the negotiation powers because they didn't have any. So there you have it. Mystery solved. Sebaceans equals humans. Were you surprised at that, or did you pretty much see that one coming and without them explaining it to you?
Yeah, if I did see it coming, I forgot I saw it coming. So it worked. But I really liked it, having a way to explain the Peacekeeper human similarity and differences was as well as kind of why they're, let's say, compatible. Yeah, I thought it was nicely done. I mean, again, part of it was I just forgot. I have a bad memory, but yeah, it worked for me.
Because it's kind of fuzzy with the timeline of Farscape, right? They explain that when I think John saw some symbols that look kind of like Earth-like at the Eidolon homeworld or whatever, and he's like, I don't know what that means, and so I wasn't really sure like which came first, humans or peacekeepers, right? Or Sebastians, right? So at least they explain it that humans were there first, and then some of them were taken away and became Sebastians. So
Gotcha.
there we go. Check. Mystery solved. Move on to the next fun scene because we got to keep going. And yeah, we have some actually pretty funny scenes of John taking the scared emperor down a wormhole. He wasn't too thrilled about that. They meet Einstein, who's really upset that they're here. And, Scarens being Scarens, he tries to like heat probe Einstein. It's hilarious. He's like bats it away like 3 or 4 times and just finally freezes him in place. Einstein does admit or just tells both John and Stalik that John's got no knowledge whatsoever of how to make a wormhole weapon. And that because of all these transgressions here, that the wormhole knowledge in John's head may have to be removed soon. John's like, sounds good to me. But I don't know, did it seem weird to you that after all of that and after all these prior episodes that, everybody wants wormhole weapons, wormhole technology, wormhole whatever, that when Einstein says, nah, he doesn't know anything, Emperor's like, okay, let's go. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have to move things along here, but I mean, what do you think about all that? I mean, that's the whole reason John's been hunted by everybody since he first figured out wormholes back, or people thought he knew about wormholes back when he showed up in the uncharted territories. And especially the Emperor, who's like obsessing about this, and he just takes the word of somebody he's never met, and it's not possible, and okay, let's go. I mean, plus, well, end of last episode, end of season, John kind of did turn a wormhole into a weapon by destroying that Scaran ship that was following him down the wormhole. I mean, okay, fine. It's probably nothing like what the Emperor and Scorpius thought a wormhole weapon was, if that even is a wormhole weapon. I don't know. But it just so much, it's so confusing. And then if Harvey's in John's head and Harvey knows this, then why doesn't Scorpius know this? Like, huh? What?
Yeah, I'll just sum all that up with, I agree. I don't understand a lot of that. I really don't understand the Emperor's plans or acceptance. I mean, was he like thinking that he just wander in and they'd hand him like some blueprints or a data disk with a massive energy weapon stored on it in a hologram format that he could take with him and leave? I don't know, but I think this may be a spot where they cut a little too much. And like you say, there's a missing bit of why he just turned around and walked off. I will give him bonus points for having the same actor for Einstein, though, right? I mean, with the delay in getting this filmed and out and everything, it could have worked out to where they had to bring in a new person to play Einstein, and I did like the continuity.
I mean, to your point, like the Emperor's like, I'm the Scaran Emperor. Oh, here you go. Here's the stuff you want. It's like,
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what John did last season wasn't turning a wormhole into a weapon. It was just destroying one ship. So there's other more drastic things they can do. I'm like, but then he also kind of blew it up when they blew up the flagship. Whatever. Anyway, fine. Whatever. We'll just hand wave it and see where it goes next episode. Yeah. Let's see. While we're talking about other weird things, was it just me, or did the scene where everybody was negotiating the framework of this peace deal and the Eidolon's powers or whatever seem like a little too much like mind control to you? Or I guess to keep our Star Wars analogy going along, like Jedi using the Force to influence people? And of course, they also had to bring in trading and mining rights into the whole damn thing. So there we go right there for your Star Wars reference.
Not the Federation. Not the Federation. Let's skip that one. Yeah. So, well, Jedi were great negotiators. So in space, that means mind control. For negotiation equals mind control. It's right there. I'm not sure. That's a pretty obvious one.
Obi-Wan did say the Force can influence the weak-minded, and still ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, as we found out over the last couple episodes, right?
Yeah, evidently that's not how they elect their emperors.
Yeah.
Maybe they should look into electing teenage girls. That would be like some planets in the Star Wars universe.
Because first you want to start out as a chancellor, and then you want to sneak in back door to the emperor. That's how you have to do it, right? I mean, we all know that. I mean, that's how you do it.
To get there, you have to be a senator first, and to be a senator, you have to have been a queen first. So,
but you're not born a queen; you're elected a queen. So,
right. So you have to be elected queen, so you can be raised to senator, to make chancellor, to make Sith Lord.
Yeah, they almost got it right. So, and then of course, just as the peace deal is wrapping up, Akna shows up and kills Yondaleo, which kind of then forces the crew to force Stark into crossing him over. So, I don't know, where do you think that might be going? I can see it going a couple different ways, but it kind of seems like, obviously, the whole point of this so far, halfway into the show here, is to get the Eidolons to help make a peace deal. So, since the only one left that kind of knew how to do this, except for the one's way far away on the other planet, is Stark, because he's crossed them over, so now he's kind of got those abilities, or somewhere in his head now is that ability, right? Which would seem fitting and ironic if that's what happens, since he worked for the Scarens and helped do their last rites and other things, and maybe he had some issues with them, and then later was captured and tortured by the Peacekeepers, aka Scorpius. So I don't know, it could be a fitting wrap up for Stark if that's what happened, or happens, I guess.
Plus, he's bat crazy, so it'll go smoothly.
Yeah, even more so now than he was before.
Yeah, he's been off it this episode. No, I actually think they'll get him back to the other Eidolon colony, the water planet, right? And he'll transfer his power to one of the others. I don't know.
Could be. Mm-hmm. Or it will end a whole different way, and this whole thing will be a moot point and just be a throwaway. Oh yeah, we're going to use these people in this whole season that we didn't have of, being the big peacekeepers and the peacemakers. And it's like, nah, never mind.
Or they're all just going to tick John off, and he just builds a wormhole weapon and blows up both civilizations and walks away.
Walks off in the sunset. That's it.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, just floats off into the sunset. Yeah.
I guess almost finally, as we're kind of now chronologically going through this episode now, we have another surprise guest star. Remember Dargo's son?
We weren't doing it. We did it anyway.
Yeah. So remember Dargo's son, Jothi? Well, he shows up again. He rescues Dargo and Chiana when they were floating in space. But apparently, Jothi's ship is more advanced, and the Scarens can't see it like they could Lola. So good for them. So I'm sure, hopefully, we're going to have some closure between these three, as you mentioned before. So there's a little quote-unquote history between these three people here. So, got to wrap up all those plot lines.
So I'll admit, I didn't expect him to show up. So interesting play there. It, as you mentioned, it brings up one of my least favorite plot lines of the whole show. But overall, like you say, they may wrap it up and everybody kumbayas, but I don't know. Maybe if this had a full season, it wouldn't go well, given their time constraint of finishing up in the next episode / part. Yeah, you're right. They'll probably just gloss over it and get to some other tying up threads, getting us to an ending.
Or that was them tying up the thread by Dargo punching him in the face, and that was it.
Yep. So, never to be mentioned again.
Nope. Okay, got it. So, and finally, part one ends, of course, with Rigel having issues carrying the baby. And as they rush to find that device that we've heard about but never seen, that transfers the baby from Rigel to Aaron, gas starts filling the room.
Similar to the beginning of Star Wars Episode 1.
Again, with mind control, in the same room with mind control and trade agreements. So,
well, they were negotiating.
Yeah,
right?
they were there. Yeah. So, this is how we negotiate with gas. That's the sci-fi plot. It's like, here's how we deal with the discussions.
Those were aggressive negotiations.
That's right. Rather aggressive. So, yeah, we've talked about quite a lot of things over the last hour or so. Anything we kind of glossed over? I'm sure there were, because this was a gigantic plot dump. All right. Or do
Yeah.
we skip anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything. I'll just have to throw out my one complaint, and that's that we only have one more part to go. So I'm not happy about that.
90 minutes. And that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, next time, yeah, like you said, that's it. The final Farscape TV episode, Peacekeeper Wars Part 2. And like I said last time, if you wanted any more Farscape after that, it was, I forget how long before the comic book series came out. But that takes place after Peacekeeper Wars. So, but yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be, like I said, 90 minutes long and chock full of action and plot line as this one was. So that's what we're talking about. Then probably after that, I don't know, we'll maybe just kind of look back or some kind of wrap up and separate podcast. I don't know. We'll figure it out again randomly as we go.
Sounds like us.
Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of know where things wind up because, stuff you remember because it's, it's that important. So it's like it kind of burned into my head of some parts of what's going to happen next time. But what do you hope they wrap up next time, or any thoughts of where you see our characters going next episode? Because that's it. Will they all make it to the end? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think our core characters are going to make it to the end. I can't see. From the sound, we know there's a baby born because we've heard the cries.
They didn't have the baby born. That would be really, really bad. So they have to do that. Because
they have to do that.
Right.
But we've heard it. So I'll take that as a guarantee. We know something gets John on the table, but I don't think they're killing Crichton or Aaron. Same with Dargo, Chiana. Rigel's probably safe. I can't see that. And it wouldn't be fair to lose Pilot and Moya. So I'm going to say the whole group gets off, right? Now, I was wrong about Jules, so who knows? We'll see if I'm wrong. Scorpy's toast. He's not making it out. I don't know. Why did I just blank on her name?
Or Durante, your favorite character.
Oh, I forgot. Was she even in this one?
All she had was the one scene with, hey, these are Eidolons, and that was it. She was done.
Good job. No wonder I liked this episode. No, I'm still blanking on.
Reza?
Oh, who hung up with Scorpio? Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, my brain just toasted. Who's the other character I'm missing? Punk.
Yeah. Sikozu. Yeah.
Sikozu. Thank you. Sorry, man. Yeah, I don't know about Sikozu. She was barely, you can edit my point there. I'm not sure about Sikozu. She was barely in this episode, speaking wise. So maybe she can quietly make it through the next one. I don't know. She obviously probably would go out the same way Scorpio does, though. So those are my predictions. Probably all wrong, but there you go.
The whole Kalish Underground we have to deal with, right? Scarens and all that stuff, or we just don't care anymore. Like, I don't know.
That's what the comic books are for.
Could be. Yeah, I can't remember the comics either. But I have them. They're downstairs. I don't. I haven't looked at them since I read them. 15 years ago or however long it's been. All right, so yeah, we'll see if your predictions hold up. Some I can't remember. Others I do because they were wrap ups to things. So some stuff is stuck in my head that I still remember all these years later. But yeah, we'll see how you do next time. Which I'm sure we won't remember what you said this time. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Don't question my bad memory.
That's right. Yeah. So that's your homework. Watch the final Farscape. And we'll talk about another hour about that too, I'm sure. So that's your homework. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.